Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
You and I are kind of similar. You may even be more good-hearted than me. I feel like you. Well,
but in our longing hearts, we're all the same.
Mutual respect and
yes.
A boundary might have been crossed that you, right?
That's
so
correct.
just an example
That's
of, it is a great example. I appreciate that for giving me the example to even quote them.
Let's be the change we want to see.
I've never seen difference as negative. I've always been attracted to and intrigued by it. But we're looking for how are we similar? How are we the same? How can we all just get along?
We are links in a chain. Unimportant.
What's up, everyone? How we doing out there? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in from. This is Working It Out Across Generations, the show where we talk all things conflict, big and small. And being that we have a conflict resolution background professionally, we try to offer some tips for reconciliation in the future. I'm one of your hosts, Justin.
And I am your other host, Dr. Lynn.
Awesome. And we got a really cool topic today. So, Dr. Lynn, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a great topic. I actually was very intrigued by this. If everyone doesn't get your message, is it still art? Now that might seem like, well, that's ridiculous. Of course it's still art, but I'm going to tell you, there have been a lot of things that have happened throughout my life, but also just recent events that made me really think about this topic. So I'll just say it straight up. Unless you're living under a rock, even outside of the United States, I'm sure you heard about the Super Bowl halftime show, all the different opinions. That really started me thinking, because one of the things that happened was I've just been like binging out on all these different videos of people's interpretations of the halftime show. And I'm just, I'm amazed, and it's just fascinating to me how far the reach has been. I mean, people in South Africa and Asia, people of all ages, of all races, backgrounds. It's just been incredible to see how it has touched so many people. But the thing that made me think about this topic, though, is that I saw the other side of that, where either posts or videos of people going, I didn't get it. Well, that was just crap. Or what the heck was that? I mean, one of the funniest things I saw was somebody who videoed his dad, and while his dad was like, what is, it was just really funny, and the person who's videoing is laughing in the background because the reason he did it is because he knew his dad wasn't going to get it. And we know the show wasn't for everyone, but was it for everyone? That's the thing. Was that for everyone? Now, it got me thinking about art in general, because as an artist myself, well, I've studied music my whole life, a singer, dance, theater, acting, writing, even poetry, spoken word. And as an artist myself, I had to think, well, when I'm creating, am I creating for everyone to enjoy? Or is it just for certain people? And if it's just for certain people, is that okay? And even if it's just for certain people, is it still art? If even those certain people, not everybody in that certain group, right, gets it too, because that also has happened as well. I think it's just a fascinating question, in particular for artists, right? Is this something that you don't care whether everyone gets it? I can remember, I think it was the Motown special. I don't remember, but I can remember Smokey Robinson, who's a singer, artist, songwriter, generations of Motown. He said Motown is for everyone. Our music is for everyone. And I have to say that when you go back and look at some of those lyrics, right, it'd be hard for it not to be for everyone. But again, maybe it's not. If they're singing about a relationship that isn't yours, maybe same sex, you are thinking, hey, I'm not in a relationship with the opposite sex, so this doesn't relate to me. But can you see deeper than that? Is it, if the song is a love song, does it have to say the exact words for you? And it's for everybody. Does it have to say the exact words? I know for me, it's art, it's paintings, right? For me, that's where sometimes I'm like, what does this mean? I don't get it, because I grew up in a household. I think the paintings were pretty self-explanatory, and maybe I just need simplistic kinds of things like trees, and I don't know, because I had a lot of paintings of forests and flowers. Right? Maybe I need that. And my palette isn't as deep enough for where some artists want to go. But I just really thought this is fascinating. And I wonder, what are people thinking about this? And hey, is it okay to give your opinion even on an artistic expression? I don't know, if you're not an artist. I mean, that's a whole nother thing too. I don't know, but what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep my thoughts pretty general. Not that you didn't. I just know I'm not getting into politics on television, so you're never gonna catch that out of me. But no, I think that's a great reference point for, I think, what I've been taught growing up, and I think what a lot of people have been taught growing up, is that art is subjective. I feel like that's like a phrase or a saying that goes around a lot when art is first introduced into people's lives. And honestly, the power and strength that comes with being able to kind of like draw out your own conclusions, kind of like make your own connections, right? Really look within the lines, right? Try to appreciate the details and things and kind of create your own story. At least that's something that I definitely heard a lot growing up. Now, it was kind of interesting because, there's this talk and energy of, you have free reign in your creations. You can do whatever you want, especially in like a educational setting and things of that nature. And then I don't know about y'all, but I was in places where like they like graded your art. It was like, it wasn't just like you kind of like did a project and like you shared and it's like whatever. You got a grade on it based on how the teacher or other people were able to kind of how well they were able to capture your vision, right? Or not. And I just thought that was interesting and very contradicting to what I just said, the strength in being able to just draw your own, right? And even then, right, the power and autonomy as an artist over, okay, well, if this is what I'm putting out, right, what is my audience? Like, who is what I want this for? And do I want to teach along with the art and guide along with the art, or have the art be self-explanatory, right? Like, there's so much freedom to being a creative that I feel like, in my experience growing up, I somehow, some way dealt with like art teachers that were kind of limiting to your expression.
Yeah.
And no one was like, like drawing erotic stuff or like anything like that. No one was drawing anything like demonic, like, or whatever. But there were rules to what your project could be about, and like all this stuff, and you had to explain it, and there was an undertone, an undercurrent of like, well, I still don't get it, but thanks so much, we're gonna move on to the next. And then when we get with that kid talking about, it's like, oh, like, amazing, like, all these different things. And so I think the overall art world is just so competitive too, from what I've heard of fellow artists and creators. And I don't consider myself an artist, definitely a creator, but an artist, no. So I've really lived through the experience of those who are, friends, family, where this is what they want to do with their lives, with their career. And I see the drive, I see the thoughts go to a page, and the process within all of it, and then also the competitiveness when you want to go and take your talents into the professional world. And I also have seen, unfortunately, some of that drive, some of that light, some of that fire kind of burn out when it comes to art, because it's like, I'm not getting where I want to professionally, so maybe I need to do something else and kind of dim the creative light and play more of the game in society. And I think that that's such a thing that we don't want. Personally, I think that that's something where the world will become, I think, less colorful if we're not letting our artists have free reign over the things that they want to create and what they want to put out there. Of course, as long as it's not something that's, I guess, too detrimental to minds and things of that nature in the world. But I'm only saying that as someone who knows they're not like this art ambassador who's going to like put lines and limits on what people put out there, right? Whoever thinks that deeply about that, please let me know and let us know in the comments what's crossing the line or what's considered, not for public eye, something like that. But I just feel like
anything like that, and you think about going back to what they call the classics, the nudes that people painted or even sculpted, and so is that going too far? Is that art? I mean, I even think about just in the very beginning, growing up, right? Kids that are being taught that you have to draw within the lines, and then kids getting in trouble for drawing outside of the lines, and that being told that's a limitation, right? Or that's you not being able to obey the rules. And does art have to even obey the rules? So I think it's all a very interesting thing. I know for myself. Hey, Dr. Lauren. Erotic. Yeah, tell us what you mean by erotic, because what was erotic these days? Even if you're talking about music, right? Lyrics. What is over the line, and what is okay to say and to do? I think that art is so subjective, but I also think, well, you brought up such a great point, the critics of art, the teachers of art, right? The people, the rule makers, the people who are saying, hey, this is or is not art. Like, even when I was growing up, unfortunately, we didn't study a lot of art that was not, let me take that back. We started any art that was not considered classics. And from the beginning, this was a problem for me, because we looked at the Mona Lisa, and I looked at the Mona Lisa and I'm like, okay, break it, and they would break it down for why it was a classic and why it was so beautiful and why. And I'm not disrespecting it. I'm just saying I didn't just get it naturally. Just looking at it, I looked at it. Not my cup of tea, but somebody else thought it was great, and so great that it needed to be taught. So when you have gatekeepers who are telling you what needs to be taught and what doesn't, then I don't know that art is considered art by everyone then, because everyone doesn't look at it this way. Everyone doesn't grow up that way. Everyone is exposed to different things that may be very artistic. I think about people who talk about bullfights, right? I look at that and I'm like, the brutality of killing the bull at the end, but people talk about the majesty and art of that, and being able to, the matador with the, with their cape, what they can do and how it influences the bull. And so is that art? And do I just not get it, or is it too over the line? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, this is why we're talking about it, right? Because there's so many gatekeepers, as you said. And I think that if we're talking generationally, right? These are young people who are, I think reflecting back into the world, what they've, as you said, seen, been exposed to, grown up in. I think especially music, right? I know there's a lot of music out there that's very vulgar, very, the opposite of, don't worry, be happy, right? Like all that. I'm well aware.
Opposite of Motown.
I'm well aware. However, who are we to I feel like, try to kill that light, dim that light in a young person who's really, as I said, just trying to express whatever they're seeing in a healthy light. You know what I mean? I think about, yes, some of the lyrics and some of the things that you hear out there that adults are 1000% valid in their critiques, in their maybe even judgments, right? In their possible of passing on to, and putting out a message of, this isn't what we should be teaching our kids and all that stuff, right? Think about like the samples that these young people are using, right? Like the ear that these kids have for music. I've been told myself by many people, I have an eclectic ear for music. I think I do. And then I find some kid who's 15, yes, rapping about something that's not necessarily great, but I can listen to a beat, a sound, whatever, right, and dissect it so well and be like, wait, I've heard this little snippet before. Like that's sampled from this classic piece of music or whatever that we all love, right? Which if more people could hear that sample, right, you probably have a little more appreciation for what's being put out there, right? I think that we can like what we like, not like what we don't like, and all those things. But I think that we can appreciate something in everything. I think I've always thought that way, or at least tried to think that way. I definitely live that way now. But, especially in the things that we're feeling like we're missing or we're not aligning with. I think that's especially when you want to be able to try to, create your own interpretation of what's happening in those moments. And honestly, just be okay sometimes with where you land. I think a lot of people with a lot of different things, sometimes aren't satisfied with the answers they get, right, to a question that they've asked of the world or of themselves or of other people. And I think sometimes we have to be okay with just, this is how I see it. This is my interpretation. This is this person's freedom of expression, right? And we have to just be okay with that sometimes, right? Especially when it comes to the things that, we don't align with, right? I think that's when we ask more questions, and we do a lot less, or should do a lot less, of the gatekeeping, which is honestly I don't think even people refer or think about gatekeepers as people who open doors. They really just think about them who have the opportunity to close them.
That's
So,
interesting. But
yeah.
what about, but if this is like a major exhibit, if this is, one of the things that really made me think about poetry were the different styles, like haiku. A lot of people are not familiar with that. And once I do too. And once that was introduced to me, I thought, oh, we're getting closer to, I love poetry. I mean, but I would think that we're getting closer to what I think about, right? Art, in that it can be in different forms and expressions and short. I had to get used to that every poem didn't rhyme. Oh boy, I really had an opinion about, but it didn't rhyme. That doesn't mean that it isn't poetry. I think that when we can widen the lens, even in teaching it, I think that is incredibly important. But if you're exhibiting your art before the world, right? You're at major, you have a major showing, the Super Bowl, right? Major thing, audience of all different backgrounds. Is there the expectation that your art is supposed to reach everyone, that everyone is supposed to understand it, possibly enjoy it, but at least know what it is that you're communicating to people? And for me, I think that, I don't know. I don't know. Is it still art if I don't think it's art? I mean, I'm sure that it is. I think that it is just that kind of question that we're going to have to really get used to, because I'll tell you, generationally, when rap music and hip hop culture came into being, yes, I'm old enough to remember being exposed to rap music, and just the kinds of things that were said about it by adults. And then now, right, the kinds of things that are said about it, even if you think about crossing the lines of race in hip hop, right? Is it for people who are not Black, right? Can white people rap? I mean, hey, that was a controversy. Eminem, I think, blew that out the water, but hey, before him, there were others. And so I think that it's an interesting conversation to figure out what is art, and is it art even when your message is just, it's not communicated. People don't get it. Like I said, for me, abstract art, I don't think there's a painting that I've seen that was considered abstract that I get. Even after an explanation, I'm just not good with that. But I won't say that it's not art, but I will say that if you were trying to communicate your message to everyone, then for me, I missed it. And I would have loved to have gotten it, but it just doesn't compute for me. And I don't know whether that's important to artists or not. I know for me as an artist, when I think about acting, I would love everybody to get the play that I'm in, right? Or if it's a film, but I've really been more in the theatrical world, I'd love everybody to get the message and understand. And in the writing of it, as a writer too, that's what I'm going for. But critics might think it's garbage, and therefore they may say this isn't a person who has that talent. But who are they to say that, right? So anyway, I think it's interesting. And like I said, just given what happened with the Super Bowl, and that was just such a huge expression for people, and the response, the reaction to it, I think, hey, it's something that I hadn't really thought about before. And I'm wondering, as people go into the profession, even as a hobby, like, I'm wondering, what do they think? Do they think that I'm doing this so that everyone will get it, or I only care about a certain audience getting it? I'm only doing this for the grade. I don't know, but I think that there are all kinds of ways to be artistic, but there are also all kinds of reasons why you even want to be an artist. But we're in this age, right, of everybody's not just everybody's got an opinion, because we all have an opinion and we're all entitled to an opinion, but everybody's got an opinion that they need to express somewhere out there on social media. And not just express, but they expect, it seems to me, that people expect not only to be taken seriously, but to be taken as an expert on. I mean, am I wrong? Is that
what an arrogant way of thinking? What an arrogant way.
Am I making that up though?
No.
Oh,
what
okay.
An arrogant way of thinking.
But it's true that, and they want to argue with you. They want to tear you down sometimes, whether you are the artist who has put this out on display or whether you're the person defending them. If they disagree or agree, right, then the expectation is you take their word as final, and anything that you say is not important to them. And I think that what that does is it continues to create conflicts that actually don't get resolved. And resolved to me is, even if you have to walk away saying, hey, I don't agree, but hey, that's my opinion, and you certainly have a right to yours, then it can be resolved in that way. Resolved could be that you actually give space for the person to be heard, for the person to share why they think that it is a particular form of art. But what I see really is the back and forth, the dismissing of people's opinions. And for me, this particular, the Super Bowl really enlarged it, but also throughout my life, as I've said, just the kinds of opinions that were expressed about it, I think were just people's opinions. So I really think it's important for us to think about how we exist in this time, right, together, as art takes more and more different forms, as it pushes the button and crosses the lines. Gordon, hey, welcome. I love this comment. I'm open-minded to art because art is beautiful. The creator of the art can give a better guide to describe the masterpiece. And I love that word, masterpiece. And I think that many artists really do believe that what they are showing us is a masterpiece. And who are we to then disagree with that? I mean, publicly, right? It'd be different if it was a private conversation. But publicly, people are giving their opinions and trashing folks and creating much more conflict than there needs to be. So we really wanted to share our view on how we can exist in a time where everybody's got an opinion that needs to be public, and artists are putting out their heart, their sweat, their blood, their love to us. And for me, I think that that's sacred in a way, even if you don't enjoy it. So the question is, or actually what we want to do is give you 3 things to do when you don't understand the message. And I've been there. So the first thing is Google or check social media for points of view. I know I saw a lot of people saying, I didn't get the message on the Super Bowl, right? Where can I find an analysis? Who's breaking it down? Because I don't want to just dismiss it. I actually want to understand it. And today, in the time when you can Google anything, and I know everybody doesn't trust Google completely, but it's been pretty good, I think, for a lot of things. But even to check social media, but first, please understand what it means to scroll as opposed to having to have your buttons pushed and then having to have your say. Like if you're really trying to see what are other people saying about it, then you're reading and you're scrolling, you're not adding fuel to the fire. But it's one way, right, for you to get a better understanding without having to trash somebody and just put your opinion out there without understanding. So that's one. The next is create your own interpretation. I like that. Oh, and I'm sorry, did you have something?
I was going to say, is this your show?
I'm sorry.
You have a co-star? Or, I mean, damn, love listening to you talk, but 10 straight minutes is a mission and a commitment.
Okay,
Jesus, give yourself a sip of water.
Go.
So as far as Google, I'll go back.
Okay,
Let's just give me some autonomy here for a sec. Yeah, I mean, as far as Google or checking social media, I think as far as the social media tip, art is for sure one of the few places where you'll have a fair and level-headed comment section, or even just like algorithm. Because I know that we all know that, you know, there's an algorithm to this social media stuff, right? So they want to put out stuff that's going to garner attention, garner views, garner, you know, engagement and all of those things. And I think that art is one of those ways in which, you know, they capitalize on difference of opinion, difference on point of view. And so I think that you really just want to go to the most like level playing field, the most even-minded, open-minded kind of places for when you don't and when you want to ask the question for more curiosity. You don't want to go to someone who also struggles to see what you're seeing and then like those be the only people that you go to for trying to like work through your own interpretations and things of that nature. You want to be able to go into places where you get that difference. You get people who do see what you're missing, and then people who don't and who feel, you know, exactly the point you're at. But, you know, there's still just, I think, as far as on social media, I know that anytime I go and, you know, even just an artist drops a song, right? There's different views and different comments and different positions and all of that they express to that artist. And I think that, you know, you just are able to, I think, build from there if you're struggling to have your own starting point.
So you think artists put it out there for the controversy, or that's one of the reasons that they put it out there?
I don't know. Like, I'm not an artist, so like, I mean, that's like something for the artists out there. If you're an artist, please tell me. Are you trying to trigger? Are you trying to get attention? Are you trying to whatever, right? And especially, you know, that doesn't just come out in art through like, you know, spray painting something on to, you know, a message in the midst of a you know, what's the word called, a protest or something like that. It's not just that's like triggering or whatever. It's not that style. So I can't answer that. However, I do know it happens, and it happens naturally, right? People get to and land on different things within themselves in reaction and response to the art that you put out there. And so how much of that is like a science, I'm not sure. That's something for an artist to express to me. However, I wouldn't be surprised, and I would think that that's a great way to you know, not only get your message out there, but get people talking, you know, get people curious, get people bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah. So. Oh, you brought up two things. You triggered two things in me. One is graffiti. We're in New York, right? I grew up in the Bronx, and you want to talk about graffiti, which I was always told is defacing property. But then I met someone when I was doing my TED talk, who she is the study and the research of graffiti and working with graffiti artists. And then I was schooled on how it's art. But just because I was schooled on it doesn't mean that everybody else that saw it as defacing property, right, so it sees it as art. But that's interesting. And then Gordon, if you're still here, I can remember DJ scratching. And I'm like, And they're like, that's just masterful and that's art. And I'm like, is that really art? But again, being schooled on it and really listening to it and then really learning about how much it takes to really be able to do that well, and the timing. And Gordon, you're a masterful DJ yourself, wondering, do you consider that art? But see, these are the things that I think don't come up naturally in our thinking, or we don't think about them before we have our reactions, and then put them out there as if we know it all when it comes to being an artist. So in any case, I wanted to share that, and I'll move on and make sure that I give you
just keep going.
Okay.
We're live right now. Just keep
and
going.
This is real. All right, create your own interpretation. Yeah, I mean, I think that you can decide, and you can see that nowadays when people are doing their videos, I'm not just even talking about the Super Bowl, long before that, right? People are doing their interpretations of different things. Even I've seen people see artists dance, and they're doing their interpretations of that dance or the song covers, right? All of these things. Create your own interpretation and see what that teaches you or where that lands for you. I think is a great way to try to understand what an artist is trying to give you as a message.
Yeah, I think this is what you're supposed to do when you don't understand it. And this is what I did and what I continue to do when I didn't understand it. And if anything, I think that the camaraderie that comes with kind of explaining your as a consumer how you're feeling, receiving whatever to an artist who's presenting that to you, I think like I said, the camaraderie in that, the idea sharing, the thought hopping, the honestly just vision building that comes with that is so cool. I have a lot of people who across the art spectrum in my life who they show me unreleased stuff, right? Whether it's their music or a piece they've been maybe just sketching out, but they're trying to upscale it to something that they put out there for people. I have friends who are making clothes and all these different things. So seeing the unreleased, getting them to ask me, like, what do you think of this? Like, before I put it out there, like, how do you perceive it and things like that. And not only am I honest, but, I can also I don't even have to necessarily have an opinion. It could be more of just like, this is what's coming to me in response to what you're showing me, what you're presenting me with, and leaving it at that. It doesn't have to always be like I like the opinion that I'm sharing with you, or I don't like it, so that somehow has to play into how I tell it to you, when I tell it to you, if I tell it to you, right? When creatives get in the room and they get to do their thing and just create, I think that there's just so much magic that comes out of that. And I think that the only way that the magic really works is if people have their own interpretations and their own confidence in, the fact that, yeah, this may not even be what you were going for, but I mean, it's just how it landed for me. That for an artist makes them unlock a whole new avenue, unlock a whole new door to open. So, like I said, I think that process is exactly just where the beauty lies.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about like the show like Saturday Night Live, right? The artistry in the sketches that they do, that they create their own interpretation of some of the things that are controversial out there, and people either vibe with that or they don't. But I think it's interesting that that's something that they continue to do as a way of, yes, part of it is mocking, but the other part is trying to research and understand what exactly was the message that was communicated by the original piece. And then ask questions. You may not have direct contact with the artist, but you have direct contact with other people, and hopefully it's not just people who think completely like you. Hopefully you can ask a range of people questions about, well, what did it mean? I know I had great conversations with different people around the show, the halftime show, and I asked questions, they asked questions, and I think it was fascinating because, again, too, we weren't the artists, and we may not necessarily have had the most informed opinions, but we were asking questions to try to get better at understanding.
Yeah, I think questions are your superpower in every fashion of life. I don't think we're trying to change anyone or change anything. We just want to plant seeds. That's what we do in our professional work. That's what we do in our personal work, right? And I'm never just going to come out and say, well, like, this is what I think, and da-da-da-da, and, like, I don't know if I really like that. No, like, that's just not me. I think a lot of the times I will maybe even answer a question, like, with a question of, like, in this conversation, maybe, like, you know, what did you think, right? I could give that. I could give what I thought, but I think my brain more goes to, you know, well, there's so many elements to this piece, and I'm landing on so many different things. Where did you as an artist want to take me or take us with this, right? And try to see where it's aligned or see where it's not. And if it's not, again, back to my previous points, that's where we as artists are just saying, oh, word, that's interesting. This is where my brain went to it, not on some just like, you know, oh, well, that's not at all what you were conveying, and you might want to go change that, and you might want to take another look at that. Like, no, like that's not where you want to go. That's not what you want to do. It's your piece, and we have to leave it that way, even in our curiosity and even in our questions. And so I think questions are one of the main ways that you're able to, you know, still let them own their autonomy, while you honestly feeling more confident in potentially bringing up, you know, how you didn't see it, how you didn't have that eye, how you didn't catch a certain detail, right? I think, like I said in the top of this entire conversation, being able to appreciate art and the details and things, taking those skills has definitely applied to other areas of my life. So I can see how for other people it could feel like, oh, well, if I don't get that, then like, damn, I really don't have the vision to, you know, maybe lead this team, or maybe, you know, trust myself in the unknown, right? And the things I don't know. And I think that art is for sure one of the first avenues in my life, and I would hope in others for kind of dissecting some of that distrust within ourselves. So I think questions are a perfect way to do that. It leaves things open.
Yeah, and we have an artist who has a comment. Sakai says some people do it for a reaction and others don't even want to share their work. Some people make things for everyone to interpret and get. Some people are happy making things for a specific crowd.
True.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. And I don't know if, I don't know if artists are okay with that, right? I never really grew up learning that artists could and should keep their work to themselves. I always heard you put it out there, right? So that's an interesting perspective. Thanks for that, Sakai.
Yeah, now we're going to get into some things you don't want to do when you don't understand the piece, right? So here we go. First, you don't want to be rude. Let's just be clear, right? You don't want to be rude. I don't think there's anything much more to that. Just don't be a plethora of words I wish I could say on air right now. It's just not. It's not a vibe. It doesn't make you seem like an expert. It doesn't make you feel empowered. It's just not. It's not productive. It's not. I just don't see being rude about someone's art, right, as like, you know, being open, being, you know, it just comes off closed off. And there's plenty of things that we can be and are entitled to being closed off to, but with art being such a spectrum that is a spectrum within a spectrum within a spectrum within a spectrum, like, I don't know how the curiosity doesn't like drive you to want to learn more as opposed to be closed off. That's how I see it, but don't be rude. People are putting, like you said, their blood, their sweat, their tears, their heart, their soul, their emotions. They're putting their value system, their core values. Shout out Joey. We're talking about that last episode. People are putting all those things out there. And just like Sakai said, it may not be for everyone, but it's not for someone to just shut down and completely try to kill the art out of the artist.
So I'm going to say to that, there are people that will tell you I'm not being rude, I'm just being honest. And for you all out there, that's true. You've heard it.
Dude, I say it. Like I say it. Sometimes knowing I'm being rude. Like we're not all skillful all the time.
That was my point,
yeah,
though.
like,
I think a lot of times when people say that, they do know they're being rude.
Yeah.
Okay, and they hide behind the I'm just being honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't be rude.
Don't be rude. Don't be rude. My next, these notes didn't come out. I think we have a glitch in our system or something. But I haven't actually ever read around here, so it's perfect. Don't vlog or blog your judgments. Essentially, don't be a Karen about it. Like, at least that's how I'm saying it. Don't go, I need to call your manager about it. Don't go thinking, oh, I had a bad experience, like at a restaurant. I need to go put a Yelp review. If you do that, I still can find a way to love you. I just know that those people are lame to me. It's let people form their own opinions. Let people have their own experience. How many times have we heard people say, don't go talk to that guy or girl over there, or however people identify, because they're just weird or they're just whatever. And you're not, you want to stay away from that. And you go over there and they end up being cooler than the person you pulled up with. So and I'm the type to say, like, well, you're lame actually, like, because this person's pretty cool, right? But no, let people form their own opinions. Don't be. You're not this food critic. You're not this art critic that's gonna have a contact that'll blow them up in a year. No, you're not. You're not nothing. You're another average human person who ain't got nothing but a mouth, who can blindly speak and blindly influence people to do things. Right? That's just so corny to me. Let people experience things for themselves. Let them come to their own conclusions, their own interpretations. And you don't need to put a little thing out there saying, never come see this exhibit or never come see this place ever again, and give it a 1 star, acting like you're 1 star or something that the world is going to bow down to. No, let people do their thing. Let people put their art out. And the reality is that's where opportunities come from. It comes from a lot of those people saying, and passing by you saying, it's not really my thing, don't really like it, but that always adds up to someone at least being able to come up and say, nah, wait, I'm curious about this. I like this. Like, for all the people who don't like it, there's going to be someone that does. So please don't be a Karen. Don't be a lame. Don't be, I'm not trying to use nicer words, but don't be that. Those are the worst kinds of people.
Well, it's a reason why I think a lot of celebrities say, don't read the comments when they are on social media. I mean, Oprah, that's like one of the first things when she had her show, especially that was one of the first things that she would say as a point of advice to people new in the business, just had something out that was major, right? Don't read the comments, because a lot of times the comments are mean, and then you go and write a blog or vlog, as you said, about it, and that's a whole nother level. You didn't even just write a sentence, I hated it.
No, like you wrote innuendo about how, this egg on your sandwich wasn't cooked the way you wanted it. And oh my God.
Is food art?
Yes, it's art.
Oh, okay. All right, see?
Food is art.
Okay, food is art.
You thought it was just food? This is why we talk about these damn things. Food is, oh my God, that's another topic.
I don't disagree. I just don't even, like, when I list things as art, I don't think about food, but you're right. But see, here we go. I'm going to say some of y'all go a little too far with it. A sugar pea that has been caramelized with some smoke coming out. And I feel like,
Yeah, you guys are lame too. But
don't be rude. We just said don't be rude.
No, I'm saying that out of portion size. Not out of art. The art's pretty. I'll take a picture of it.
Yeah.
I'm not eating
It's
stuff.
always
Leave me
beautiful.
alone.
Yeah.
I'm not eating. I'm going to
It's
McDonald's
always
after that and try to feed me something like that. That is corny. So don't vlog or blog your judgments. Those people are lame. And then lastly, just don't try to influence people to see things the way that you do, right? That just does not leave the open for interpretation piece of this conversation and of every conversation that we're talking about. We want people open. We don't want people closed off. We live in a society that's trying to do things a certain way, and it's like if you come visit us here in the United States, it's like you got to act this way, you got to move this way. There's no stepping out of bounds, right? And sometimes I think a lot of the gold, a lot of the fruit, a lot of the richness, the sweetness is from coloring outside the lines, is from stretching boundaries, right? I know there's not a lot of rule breakers out there, but plenty. But like bending a rule, right? I'll bend a rule any day that I can, right? But I think there's just so much gold in that, and there's so much of the unexpected, and there's so much of those things where, we're naturally taught to fear or dislike or be weary of things that we don't know, don't understand, haven't seen before. And yet that is where I think real growth comes from. Growth is uncomfortable, growth is painful, growth is all of those different things, right? The things you don't want to do or feel, right? But that's how you know it's working. And so I think, especially with things like art, it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm not really understanding the whole, penis out on the statue thing, but let me ask a question to at least try to say, where is the art in that? Where is the public want for that, right? And that's better than just, I think, saying, oh, this is weird, let's get out of here, and trying to say that to everyone else in line that's waiting to get in. Again, you want people to experience things for themselves, right? And I think that's where the real camaraderie comes in. When you experience the same thing and people have different views, takeaways, and are going home with different experiences, good or bad. Unfortunately, there are bad things that can come out of that, but that's where the conversation comes in, and being able to have that foundation for productive conversation. Sometimes if it's not set up, the foundation, we have to do that. And it really is as simple as avoiding some of the things that we're talking about right now. So,
yeah, I think that it's okay you disagree, but why does everybody have to think like you? You don't have to try to influence everybody to trash something, because that's really what we're talking, or at least what I'm talking about. It's one thing when you post that you didn't like it, but then you try to get other people to come along with you. And look, let people think what they think, and if something is art to someone, even, I was going to say, unless you're an art critic, but I can't even say that, because what are the credentials of those critics? There's so much diversity. I'm going to say that word. There's so much diversity out there. People who speak other languages, right? They'll tell you in a minute, how do I say this in English? Because the interpretation is different, right? It just doesn't translate the same way. It doesn't have the same meaning. So if you even think about language, which I think is art, I love languages, but just know when it comes to art that there is such a wide lens out there for us if we will take it and open up to it. So everybody ain't got to think like you.
Great conversation. The parts that were conversations.
The parts that were conversations. Yes.
Absolutely.
Anyway, final words. Why don't you go first with the final words on this?
You just said yours. So.
I did not. That wasn't my final word. I was just talking about the don't influence others.
Well, I stand on what I said, so go ahead. Because I'm looking at the clock too.
I'm looking at the clock, and I'm going to say...
No, you were not. Not this episode. No, the hell you were not.
Oh, my God.
Continue.
Anyway, I'm going to say that I love art. I love artistic expression. I think that it opens us up to living life in a very different way if we will allow ourselves to really be opened up to that, and to give give latitude and try to understand. These are great conversations. We're all about having better conversations, right? Great conversation to participate in some kind of artistic work and then try to understand, ask questions, as you said, and really bring ourselves to a whole nother way of looking at life.
Yeah, absolutely. That was beautiful. Perfectly said. So if you enjoyed working it out across generations, please tune in to e360tv.com, Trajectory Channel, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. You can check us out on Facebook at Working It Out TV Show, also on YouTube at Working It Out Across Generations. And if you would like to direct message us personally, reach out to Working It Out Across the Generations at e360tvlive.com. I mean, as I can't stress enough, every view, every like, every comment, every piece of engagement, every bit of support, every subscription, it truly means everything to us. We really do live by small is all, and we're all, just building to something bigger piece by piece. And you guys are helping us do that. So we really appreciate all the love, all the support. It does not go unnoticed. And you know what we say, conflict is here to teach you something about yourselves. So go out there and find out what it is. I'm Justin.
I'm Dr. Lynn. Thanks for tuning in.
And this is Working It Out Across Generations. We'll see you next week.
With a name, but in our longing hearts, we're all the same. We can make it happen, turn things around. Let's be the change we want to see. In this